Hello and welcome to the first ever culture talk that we're going to do. Myself and Sean have wanted for a long time now to start a podcast and record it and essentially put together some topics that we feel are very important linked to culture. Now, if you don't know us, my name is JP and my colleague's name is Sean. We are co-founders of our business, Core Impact Limited. Now, Core Impact is a cultural development organisation. And essentially what that means is we help organizations to improve their employees' well-being, to improve the culture in general, but essentially to help people, to help leaders, and to help businesses prosper and reach their goals. Now, we've worked with many different organizations. We have a whole host of experience in terms of leading teams, and we continue to do that. And what we want to do is create something here that we can put out on a weekly basis, on an episode basis, and we invite people on to talk. We'll chat about questions people have posed to us in the interim, and we'll generally just talk about culture and people. Now, we're very interested in everything going on at the minute, obviously, because it's impacting everybody. But what I wanted to do was allow Sean to give a bit of insight into this specific episode, and I'll let you do that, Sean.
So this is episode 1, Culture Shock. We're calling this in for obvious reasons, because there's been a lot of change for people and for organizations. And one of the big things that we focus on, as JP has said, is the culture of organizations. And we know now that has changed dramatically, given the circumstances we all find ourselves in. And specifically with remote working, that's one of the areas that we're going to be discussing today. And we want to discuss some of the challenges that we faced. We are a management company as well as an organization of employees who have also been put on furlough. Okay, so we want to discuss that a wee bit as well, and how we've overcome those challenges at this point as well. And of course, we'd invite after this any sort of points or discussion that anyone would like to put forward as well. So, as I said, we are a management company for an organisation. We had a major struggle when this all started. We found it really, really difficult dealing with the circumstances, because we were the people who were walking in the door and having to explain to our employees that they were not going to have a job. We didn't know there was going to be furlough pay at this point. The organisation that we manage are under it's difficult circumstances because it came from administration. So there's a lot of difficult circumstances there. So out of our control, these employees could not be paid, and these are people that we're very close to. So walking into that circumstance and explaining to them that they don't have a job temporarily and we don't know how long was very, very difficult. So we had to find things to overcome this. One of the main things that we looked at was a WhatsApp group. Very simple, but effective. We did make sure that we spoke to everyone in person. We went in and we talked to them, and we had good communication, and we always have done. We have got a good culture within our business, and that's shown through in this time. And I think JP will agree. What we've done so far has been effective. We've held the team together really well, and I actually believe we're probably going to come back stronger than where we left.
Yeah, I'd say I'd agree there. We were chatting before we started recording, and we were talking about how it's actually an opportunity to allow growth within the culture and the team. And likewise, it might be hard to be optimistic, especially if you have had to furlough people, and if you are out of a position at the moment yourself, of being a leader in that organization, that there's still a role for you to play. There's still a job for you to do and people for you to care about. And therefore, there is an opportunity for you to bring people closer together. If you've been having issues with team building, with performance, these types of things could be discussed in this time. And likewise, it's understandable that you might not be being paid for what you're doing. Well, you're probably not. But at the same time, you still have a responsibility, and you will make life much easier for yourself when it comes to the part where you go back to work and the doors open up. And I think it's important to understand that we hopefully, based on everything going on right now, nobody knows exactly what the next steps are going to be. But based on what we're watching and reading about, we hope that we're at that curve, at the top of that curve at the moment, and the next week or so will definitely tell whether or not numbers start to drop. And at that point, we aren't looking at when will this end anymore. We're looking at when will we reopen. So it's an inevitability, and so it's time, I believe, to look at the contingency plan. And let's face it, nobody had a contingency plan for this sort of thing, unless you were an online business where you're able to prosper. Then especially the hospitality industry, which is the team that we deal with, is a hospitality team. They're at home, and they're trying to keep themselves busy. And so you could be helping that along. You could be aligning that with what you're going to hope to do when the doors reopen to your business again, or your place of work. And it's important to start thinking about that.
I think it all comes back to basics as well. I mean, the areas that we focus on within any organization we're working with is the core values, and go back to the basic principles as well. And I think if you continue to align your organization with the core values that you have started with, that you should be able to adapt to that. And if you can meet how the employees feel, if you can match that with the company's values, and you continue to do that, then that culture remains. It doesn't matter whether we're all sitting in the same room or we're doing remote connections, such as this. If you have that in place, that'll stay with you. And this is an opportunity for organizations to actually showcase what they have been doing, and to really, really build upon it, because sometimes it's challenging times that actually shows the greater strengths. And this is certainly a challenging time, and organizations have had to adapt really quickly. And remote working is going to become a new big thing now, now that people have been forced into the situation of doing it. For some it'll work, for others it won't. But the most important thing I think that organizations need to do following this is actually just open up the doors and listen to what their employees have to say. Listen to what the positives were and what the negatives were. For some organizations it will work really well. For others, particularly hospitality, as we actually had discussed earlier on, for hospitality, I mean, it's not an option, because it's a service-based industry. You need to be in front of the people, and that's how that works best. But for other organizations such as tech companies and things like that, who maybe didn't always embrace it, now is the time to do that. And you can also get a mix of both, of course, whichever works well for both, for the business and the employees. But I mean, I know from our point of view, from my own point of view in particular, I have no idea how to use Zoom or Skype or Teams. I've only learned that over the last few weeks. So I feel like I've learned something out of it, and I feel like it's very useful, because there's particular people who we maybe had to travel to before, who I now feel more comfortable to actually sit in this setting and have a conversation with them. And that doesn't mean, I mean, we're very much people, for want of a better way of putting it. And we want to be sitting in front of people as well and chatting. So we need a mix of both as well. It's not a case of we just want to do Zoom calls and that's us done. That's not what we're about. We feel more of a culture around being around the people, but certainly a good mix of both of them, I think, is what's going to come through after this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's opportunity all around. Obviously, with everything going on, it's hard to be optimistic, I think, and I've mentioned that already, or be a bit positive about what's going on. But life and business will have to go on after this, and we might as well try and take an ounce of positivity from it and move forward. Like I can talk. Hopefully, I'm speaking for both of us when I say, like, our team have really got wrapped around us as well. And it hasn't just been us leading the team. The banter that's been going on in the chat, and likewise when very difficult circumstances in terms of the furlough system, before we even knew it was going to be what furlough was, we had to have a really difficult conversation with the whole of our team, saying that they needed to go on job seekers, and that's what we thought it was, until thankfully not even 3 days later the government brought out that scheme, and that raised morale. And gratitude is really important in these times, and it's something we've been trying to practice. It's something we're trying to get our team to practice, and it's interesting because we always talk about, as part of the work that we do, we always talk about how there are always informal leaders within your organization, and it's only at certain times that they come out. And there's one or two people, and Sean will know who I'm speaking about when I say this, that have really shone their personality and their leadership abilities and their positive mental health, and just general care for the rest of their team has shown very clearly. And they seem to be the rising stars, even just in a WhatsApp chat, and sending in positive news stories, sending in small games that they can all play as one group, and putting in the odd meme, which I'm sure everyone's seen, and it makes us very proud.
There has been a few of them as well, in terms of like trying to like a fitness. We have a personal trainer who's working with us, who's put different things in the WhatsApp group, which have been really, really good. I've actually been starting to use one of them. I'm not that I've done an awful lot, mind you, but I'm trying to push myself that direction. But putting in good ideas of like home workouts. And there's one of the other girls as well who's very much focused in on the mental health, and she's been really, really focused on that and giving people tasks and things that they can do. And we've shared free online courses. They have had a fair bit of banter. They've been helping each other out. When one wasn't feeling well, but they're offering to go and get their shopping for them. You know, it's a real sort of family feel about it. And even for us, not to go into detail, but they all came together as well to really provide a kind gesture for us as well, which we really appreciated the thought that they have behind it. But it just shows how everything can work really well. And I think it all comes down to communication and to trust, because even though we were all faced with difficult circumstances, they knew that whatever we could do for them, we would do, because they trust us. They know we're going to look after them as much as we possibly can. And that communication piece is just so important within that. And I think that's one thing that organizations need to take from us, any organizations who aren't already done it, that you need to get in there and start communicating with your team if you haven't already done so. Don't forget about them. They're not gone. They're coming back again, hopefully. And you know, there's going to be difficult times after this as well. And this is an important time where everybody needs to come together and really show the strengths that they have.
Yeah, definitely. And as I mentioned there, and as some great examples Sean's given, people shine through and they want to care for everybody else. And you know, from our perspective, as Sean mentioned, the core values, like when we've all we have done for the last 10 years, I suppose, of looking after that team and that place, like we've just promoted the core values and living them, and care being one of the 5 core values for that site. And it's really, there's a lot of pride that comes along knowing that people are living that. And I believe that sometimes I've seen some great stories online, and we'll chat about a few of them before we finish up, but just how it reminds you that the best in some people come out in circumstances when everybody else feels a bit hopeless. And that sign of the rainbow being one that is providing hope for people. And there's a few wee rainbows in people of the group that we have there, and it's just great to see, you know. And so look, it's easy for us to sit here and say everything's positive. Of course it's not, but what we're trying to do is say there are positives in everything going on. There's positives in the team. There's gratitude that can be taken from everything here, step by step. And there's been some really good, unique examples that we've seen of businesses throughout the world. Actually, I was reading an article, and I believe it was Vancouver, and there was a few organizations who were service organizations and were able to get their things online. And they were able to start selling their services online, whether it was an e-learning platform or delivering products when otherwise it was only an in-store type product. And they've been able to collaborate with other organizations. So if you have an organization where you just don't have the capacity to get it online, or you just don't see a way forward, if you want to try and collaborate in the small term, which could lead to long term, you can do that. The one that stands out to me is there was an organization who sold products, did do it online, but seeing that there was a local business who were really struggling, and it was a florist. And what they done was they were able to work something out that they were able to share custom, and for every product that was sold over a certain amount from the company who can sell online, a bunch of flowers were actually given to each customer based on that. And that keeps that brand alive for that florist, and collaboration provides a little bit of hope. And you can see a lot of organizations and some amazing examples in closer to home, Northern Ireland. A lot of engineering companies have really been stepping up and changing the function of their production line to create these visors. And I know, Sean, you had an example of one of those.
Well, here is one that stands. I mean, obviously, you know, we're in contact with Glenn Oakes for a bit through LinkedIn, and Glenn's been really sharing the Hero Shield, and it's an excellent cause. Glenn does some great worth saying. Glenn does some great work with charities as well, but Hero Shield is the current one, and to try and raise £50,000 to create visors for NHS and frontline staff. You know, it's a tough challenge to raise £50,000, but that's organisations all pulling together to do the right thing. And I know Gary Doherty's doing his event as well. All the money goes to Hero Shield too. So everybody has pulled together, and it's been refreshing to see so many different stories like this. And obviously, we can't talk through all of them, but I think locally in particular, I don't know what other countries are like, if they're the same. And we see our local stories more prominently than anybody else's, but I think locally it's been so refreshing to see the amount of people that have pulled together and tried to do as many things as they possibly can to support frontline workers who are really well, I wouldn't say struggling because I think they're doing quite well, but they're on the face of it. They're really, like, it's a difficult time for them, and it's good to see people getting behind them. And even the likes of Thursday night clapping and stuff like that, I think that's all great. You know, it builds a nice culture and a nice environment, further afield in business itself. And Hero Seed's one of the other ones as well. Actually, I had in mind was Gavin Wall. Actually, I thought was a great example of that. And Gavin does an awful lot for Northern Ireland Children's Hospice. And the post, I'm sure he was panicking as he seen the numbers go up, but he had done £1 per leg. He was going to donate to the Northern Ireland Children's Hospice, and you know, it's places like the hospice who we have to keep in mind as well, who are going to struggle at this point as well, because they're obviously going to have problems. Well, it's a difficult circumstance in normal times. So in these circumstances, it's even more difficult, and it's important that they have the proper PPE as well. And don't forget about organisations like that and care homes and things like that. So I think what Gavin done as well there was really, really good. I don't know what it ended up raising last time I've seen. I think the legs were like 10,500, but I don't know where it finished up. But you know, these are all great things for people to do.
Yeah, and like one example that stands out to me was actually seen it on Henry McCrory and Chris McClanagan's social media platforms. And by the way, Chris, your videos are excellent. By the way, I'm watching your stories every day; they're very, very good and entertaining. But it was Henry's post on LinkedIn that I seen the link for SignLink, and the owner is called Sam, the guy from the Shankill. Has been about for a long period of time. I think he's been working with the Creative 3 for a long period of time. And last I checked, and that was only after sort of 48 hours, was nearly £22,000 that he had raised. And that article, and I'd imagine it's probably double, it could be double that by now, but that article on Belfast Live that I read in conjunction with that had stated that he had already raised enough for 2 ventilators for frontline for the NHS and about £4,000 worth of PPE, and that's just amazing. And that's only one person.
Yeah.
Like that, it's not just one person in terms of the amount of people that brings it together, but what I mean is it's one person's idea that has a positive spark that then builds traction, and everybody gets behind it, and everyone wants to get behind it. So in a time when we are surrounded by mass uncertainty, fear, anxiety, I know the majority of us are probably all feeling the anxiety that comes along with this, for fear of ourselves, for our loved ones, our friends, our colleagues, or, you know, it's lovely to see that there are some fantastic examples of people, heroes, standing up and saying, no, there's more we can do. We're not powerless, and we can come together and create positive change out of this and positive outcomes out of this.
Yeah, so I think just to finish off, and what we'll do as well, we'll share the links as well for Hero Shield and for that fellow Sam as well. Creative 3 link as well below this, just for anybody that wants to donate or purchase one of the stickers. But I think just to sort of finish off, you know, while this is a negative situation that we're all in, there are positives within it. And for us, one of our major focuses is obviously the culture of businesses. So of course, if anybody has any questions or we can support anybody in any way at all, please reach out and ask. We're more than happy to do that. Or we're actually more than happy to have a chat with your teams as well through like the Zoom, like anything like that at all that you really think of that we can do. We're more than willing to help out and do that. So please reach out and ask. So we don't want to keep these too long, so we're going to finish that up. We're going to finish up for today, episode 1, and we'll be with you again next week then for our second episode. And I hope you find these talks useful. We do want to keep them short, but hopefully we'll get as much information through as we can on them. So for now, that's us.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to add, there will be, as Sean already said, there'll be different episodes, there'll be different topics. If you'd be interested to have a chat with us, or you'd be interested to just pose a question or more insight into a topic that we talk about, we are an open book. Please reach out to us. And this is all about engagement and collaboration. And we're always learning. We always are.
So for now, take care. Stay safe.